I'm Liz Faublas, and this is Currents. Tonight, our top story is not a single event, but two developments, and when combined are likely to change the world for our children and our grandchildren. First, the birth rate in the United States now is the lowest ever, and China is destined to soon become home to most of the world's Christians. At the height of the baby boom, the rate of births in this country was nearly 123 for every 1,000 women. Well, today the rate for women born in America is less than 59, and the trend is downward. At current birth rates, according to the CIA, barely enough people will be born in the U.S. to keep the culture alive. The foundation of Western culture for more than 2,000 years has been Christianity. Now the faith is migrating east, and soon China, a country so large the government limits mothers to only one child, will be home to the majority of the world's Christians. Harvey Cox, a theologian from Harvard, told a conference in Rome the change will come in less than 20 years. He says the challenge is countries with the fastest growing number of Christians, such as Communist China, don't have a Christian culture upon which the faith may grow stronger. Meantime, the vitality of the faith among Catholics here in the U.S. is being questioned tonight. New research shows that only 35% of Catholics in America say they're strongly affiliated with their religion. That's the lowest among the major faiths. Latino Catholics are the weakest in intensity. A passionate faith was on display in Egypt inside Cairo's Tahrir Square over the weekend. Another demonstration against the tactics of the President Mohamed Morsi and his grab for power filled the square, including this man. Morsi has said once Egypt has a new constitution, he'll give up some of the power he has seized. But the Christian Coptic Church in Egypt says the constitution is for Islamists and not Egyptians, and has condemned it. The document itself, which was rushed through the legislature during chaotic sessions, was presented to Morsi yesterday. The protests against Morsi and now the Constitution have brought the country close to a new revolution. Hundreds have been injured as clashes spread throughout Egypt in recent days. Judges now have gone on strike, and no clear end to the crisis is in sight. The tremors that are shaking the Middle East, revolution and war, are almost biblical in nature. And in today's Mass reading, the first weekday of Advent, the prophet Isaiah looks into the future and proclaims, "Nor shall they train for war again." But that day has not yet come. Instead, the terror of war grows, especially in the faces of the women and children running from death in Syria. These scenes reportedly occurred in the town of Tufis, Syria, in the aftermath of a heavy artillery attack. There is no confirmed word regarding the number of dead or injured, but the searing images seen on these faces tell of the horror of the Syrian civil war. Throughout the weekend, many reports came in regarding shelling in and around Damascus, as well as 2 car bombs exploding inside the Syrian capital. The refugees from the fighting are estimated to number more than 200,000. Catholics near the front lines are doing their best to help.
This is part of the aftermath of Syria's civil war. There are no gunshots or bombs here, but still there's plenty of pain. Amid these impoverished tents in Lebanon are refugees who left it all for a chance of survival. Others weren't as lucky.
بعدين هناك جوزي اللي اعتقلوه صار له ما بعرف عنه، هو ميت، هو طيب، ما بعرف عنه شيء. يا ريت يجيني خبر بس انه طيب، ما بدي شيء أكثر من هيك.
Father Simon Fadoul is the president of Caritas in Lebanon. For almost 2 years, he's directly seen the effects of the conflict. In fact, he took papal envoy Cardinal Robert Sarah through some of these refugee camps in Lebanon, where the cardinal met some of the refugees.
Or that other lady who came to him in the camp, and she had a 4-month baby, and she handed him the baby, and she told him, "Please take him, maybe his life will be spared," because his father lost his life.
Since the conflict began back in April of 2011, Caritas has provided crucial help to more than 40,000 refugees, regardless of their religion, from food and mattresses to fuel and medicine.
في كثير حالات عم تجينا المعدة والقرورة ومن سوء التغذية.
But still, every day more and more refugees arrive. It's estimated that there are roughly 200,000 Syrian refugees, and the resources aren't keeping up, especially now with the cold weather.
The needs are growing and the resources are very limited and actually regressing.
Christians make up about 9% of Syria's population. Even though the conflict between rebels and the Syrian government is not a religious conflict, Christians are somewhat fearful of what the future may bring. Still, Father Fadul says the conflict has affected all people. He says this is what a Christian man told Cardinal Sarah during his visit.
He stood up and told the cardinal his story, and he told him, we come from the Qusair. We had all to leave our village. We lived together for hundreds of years, Christian and Muslim, without any problem, and we still live together, and now we share the same destiny. We are all refugees.
And since there's no telling when things will get better, Caritas in Lebanon is asking people to lend their support, donations, and resources.
And the story gets worse. Reports that the Syrian military is preparing chemical weapons for possible use is prompting urgent U.S. warnings to Bashar al-Assad that he'll be held accountable if those weapons are used. Up next, a Brooklyn-born priest on our economic culture prompting a battle between bishops as Currents continues after the break. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Liz Faublas. New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan is very strong in his views about our economic culture, most recently saying the trend to open stores on Thanksgiving Day values stuff over people. Now a priest from Brooklyn, the founder of a think tank, is offering an approach to the worldwide economic crisis that is not only controversial, it is pitting bishop against bishop.
For me, the important thing is not whether you're radical or not, but whether you're right or not. I'm just looking for the truth in my life.
Father Robert Sirico is an American Catholic priest who argues that free market capitalism is compatible with the principles of Catholic social teaching. That is a highly unconventional argument, and over the last 2 decades, it's made Father Sirico and his think tank, the Acton Institute, highly controversial within the Church. Just this month, at the U.S. Bishops' meeting in Baltimore, 2 bishops brought up the Acton Institute on the floor of the General Assembly.
Just a suggestion that in terms of maybe a consultant for the committee, maybe look to the Acton Institute as a possible consultant for the committee.
There are those, like the Acton Institute, which we heard earlier, who are saying that our Rerum Novarum is a time frame encyclical. It is not applicable today. And yet every pope from Leo XIII to Benedict XVI has insisted upon the right to unionize, the right to collective bargaining.
Father Sirico says the Archbishop's criticism of Acton was based on a misunderstanding of remarks the priest had made about the 19th century papal encyclical, Rerum Novarum.
Rerum Novarum is applicable today because it articulates timeless truths of the Catholic faith and the insight and the expertise that the Church has into the human condition. Of course, in one sense, it's historically bound because Leo XIII is addressing himself to the new things that are going around him at the time that he writes the encyclical. Blessed John Paul II updates Rerum Novarum. So the very fact that a successor to Leo says we have to now update Rerum Novarum to take into consideration what's going on with the collapse of real socialism recognizes that there are features of any given encyclical that are bound by its historical context. The Institute was founded to help bring sound economics to good intentions. That's kind of the slogan that we use, our elevator speech, as it were. A lot of people have very good intentions, but they don't know how to achieve it, and they sometimes will attempt to achieve it by ignoring economic realities to the harm, unintended harm, of other people. For example, in the case of healthcare, what is the Church's concern about healthcare? The Church's concern about healthcare is not this or that institution or this or that policy. It's the person who's vulnerable, who is in need of some kind of healthcare, and their access to that health care. It is my prudential opinion that I believe, as a Roman Catholic and a priest, that I have the right to argue for, that it is not prudential to see the government as the main source of the provision of health care for a variety of reasons, one of which is that it cuts out the knowledge base that a competitive pricing market in healthcare can give people for their benefit by reducing the cost of services and the whole knowledge of what is really needed. The Church doesn't uphold or endorse or canonize any economic model. And it would be a misreading of my book to say that capitalism is the economic system, moral economic system. It is clear that both Benedict and John Paul say that the problem of capitalism is not the economic system as such, but the distorted values that may be present among actors in a market economy. I think the problem that comes from capitalism is when it is too narrowly focused on capital, when it's not seen in the broader context of human action in the economic sphere, meaning that human beings bring all of their own values and their formation, their moral formation with them into the market economy, which then in turn dictates, if I may use that phrase, dictates to them what they should invest in and what they should buy and sell or what they shouldn't. I think what's happening right now in the Catholic Church in the United States, and to some extent around the world, is that there is a new way to speak about Catholic social teaching. And that's exactly what Catholic social teaching allows us to do. And you see bishops, you see lay people, you see academicians having this vibrant debate.
An impassioned debate at one of the nation's oldest churches has led to a vote on how to raise more money. The Old South Church, a Christian church in Boston, has decided to auction off the Bay Psalm book. Printed more than 370 years ago, the book, one of the first ever published in North America, is expected to fetch $20 million. 11 copies remain. Up next, the Pope's latest step into the digital age after the break. Welcome back. Pope Benedict is highlighting the work Catholic groups are doing to stop the spread of AIDS. The Holy Father, marking World AIDS Day on Saturday, says treatments exist to protect the children, but getting the medicines to those in the poorest regions of the world need an international effort. Here in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church, a special service and candle lighting to commemorate the day. The centerpiece of the ceremony, the AIDS quilt.
The late Christopher Reeve said, "Once you choose hope, anything is possible." So there is hope. Yet, there is more work to be done. Every 9.5 minutes, someone is infected with HIV. So there's continued need for breaking the silence.
Our Lady of Mount Carmel hosts this service a lot of times for the reason of meeting people in the street, meeting people in our community, meeting people in our neighborhood. We know in Williamsburg there are people living with and affected by the disease. All of us are affected by the disease. So it's an opportunity for all of us to sort of come together, pray about, grieve, maybe even lament the difficulties that we see in HIV and AIDS.
This AIDS Memorial Quilt is a premier symbol of the AIDS pandemic, our greatest tool for HIV prevention, education, and awareness. It is the largest ongoing piece of community folk art in the world.
I want to say the quilt symbolizes the fight and the lives of those who have been affected by HIV/AIDS, and overall a community which, at the end of the day, I believe is a community of hope.
Because we're going into the 4th decade of fighting this disease, and we need to have a lot of hope around that.
The good that comes out of this service is awareness and education and love, unconditional love from a parish in Brooklyn that just wants you to know that we care. Visitors can come by and see this beautiful quilt and know that people care about this horrible disease who has killed many.
Visuals are very important. The Catholic faith is all about visuals. So when you look at the block of this quilt, who it's to, who it's from, who it's for, we realize that it's not just about gay men. It's about women, children, parents, aunts and uncles. It's about families. And so the quilt is a reminder for all of us to honor those who have passed and all the work that needs to be done still, that it's not over. The fight that we need to have to gain AIDS awareness is not over.
The Pope now has a Twitter account. The official name is @Pontifex, and followers of the Holy Father will be able to ask him questions using the hashtag #AskPontifex. The Pope's first tweet is set for December 12th. Up next, hymns top the Billboard charts and lessons and carols of the season after the break. We noted earlier in the program that today is the first weekday of Advent, the season when we prepare for the Nativity of the Lord. Pope Benedict says it is also the time to extend God's kingdom of love throughout the world. And a group of Benedictine nuns are doing that through their hymns. Advent at Ephesus is the title of their CD. It's a runaway success, topping Billboard's classical music chart and coming in at 3rd place for new artists, regardless of musical genre. Last month, before all the success, I spoke with the woman who's the driving force behind the music, and I asked Monica Fitzgibbons, the co-founder of De Montfort Music, what inspired her decision to embrace the work of the nuns.
My husband and I have an extensive background in the entertainment industry, and we did notice that some of these orders were putting out chant and sacred music, and we, having music backgrounds ourselves, were interested in those. But we wanted to also see if there was a way that we could put ourselves in a position to be able to help be the buffer between the sacred world of these orders and the larger secular world, for lack of a better term, of the global entertainment industry, which we were a part of. So we knew both sides of it, and we thought, it's obvious that there's a market for this. We wanted to make sure that we would have it very well produced so that it could be on par with the top classical other pieces of music that were out there, and really get a chance, and then also, too, to just really hear it in the best presentation as possible. When we contacted them and shared with them our background and our vision to kind of bring the highest quality of the true and the beautiful out through music, and really what our hope was to be able to be sort of that bridge in between the two worlds, they were interested, definitely. We're not a company that wants to go in and try and twist any arms or put someone outside their comfort zone. I mean, these communities are very holy, very prayerful, so they need to come to it when they're prepared to come to it. I am reminded, a little off topic, of Journey into Great Silence. I don't know if you saw that movie, but when the film director approached the Carthusian community with the idea, they said, well, we're going to pray about it and we'll get back to you. And, I mean, I think it was like 7 to 10 years later, they then got back with their answer, which was, yes, we'll allow you into our community to make this film.
Because it's a very serious decision for them, and I completely understand that. And once you got the okay from them, talk to us a little bit about the logistics of the project. Now, you obviously had to go to the nuns because they couldn't come to you, so how did you make that happen?
Yes, well, and again, our model is to let them lead, and for us to figure out a way to fit that within this entertainment medium. So, as you said, we did go to them. We approached a Grammy Award-winning producer who we'd worked with before. And I worked with him at DreamWorks. He actually won a Grammy for us. And it was kind of a, so what do you think about this idea? Knowing that we would have to actually essentially go to them, build a state-of-the-art recording studio in a day, and then record in 3 days, because really they could only give us 3 days, Liz, off their rule of life, although they did maintain all their Vespers and prayers throughout. It was just amazing. So, and then a day to break down and get back on the road to Nashville. That's where he's out of. So it was a, what do you think about this? And he thought about it, and there was definitely some obstacles, but you know, I think the Holy Spirit really helped us, and off it went. It all happened very quickly, and Decca has been amazing about making sure that we have what we need to market this properly. And
how do you market this brand? Because the focus is on music and it's on chant. For people that aren't familiar with this kind of music, I mean, we heard a little bit of it up at the beginning of the show, and it's absolutely beautiful. But for people who aren't familiar with it, how do you market the brand? How do you get people interested in picking up this CD and giving it a try?
Well, people such as yourself are a good way to start, because we definitely need to encourage people to pre-order this right now. It's available at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, but also it's available at BenedictinesOfMary.org. And if you order it there, there's a little donation already built in, actually a significant donation built in to your order that goes directly to the nuns, in addition to receiving your music. So basically, we obviously want to reach out to the Catholic community, because this is an order of contemplative nuns, but there's a wider Christian community that enjoys this music. But beyond that, we're finding that there are just simply people out there who enjoy this meditative, tranquil, peaceful music that is just very calming to a busy day, and like you said, musically, it's just a very sophisticated, top quality of music. So we're just able to appeal to people really on an artistic level.
And I think, Monica, that type of meditative music is exactly what we need right now in this day and age. And we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for being with us. And I do hope that you garner a lot of attention for this CD. It's very well done.
Well, thank you for having me on, Liz.
You're very welcome. There's now another way for you to embrace the Advent season. Our diocesan newspaper, The Tablet, is conducting its Bright Christmas campaign, the 40th year in a row, where you have an opportunity to help those in need and make their Christmas a little brighter. This year, hurricane victims will benefit. Gifts may be sent to Bright Christmas in care of The Tablet at 1712 10th Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11215. Finally tonight, we journey to St. Joseph's Seminary, Dunwoody in Yonkers, where the seminarians are preparing for the coming of Christmas with lessons and carols.
St. Augustine said singing is praying twice, and we certainly get that opportunity.
The Advent Lessons and Carols is an aid to us to gain a certain focus as we start the Advent season, as we move closer to Christmas, to always be mindful of Christ's presence with us in our lives, no matter what we may be facing, so that we may be ready to receive Him for when we celebrate His birth at Christmas time.
Oftentimes, we realize that, stores already, Christmas trees have been up in the stores since Halloween. And really, it's time for us as Catholics. This is a wonderful, wonderful way for us to kind of take a step back and to realize that there's a time of preparation that's necessary for the celebration of Christmas. So this night tonight, as we come here for Lessons and Carols, is a great way to start that and to start meditating on what the birth of Christ really means.
The seminarians have been practicing for months now on end that will go into an hour presentation tonight. It's not a Christmas concert. Christmas concert would be totally different. They'll be singing Christmas songs. But Lessons in Carol tonight will call you more to listen to Scripture and meditate on that as we wait joyfully for the coming of Christ the King.
What's interesting is that here at St. Joseph's, we're a very international community. There are people here from all throughout the world. People from Ghana, people from Korea, people from all sorts of, all different parts of Africa. And so one of the ways which we'll see tonight in the carols is that many of the carols which we'll be singing will reflect the international nature of our house.
Here in the seminary. It was a group of different people from different parishes who were brought together by then Father Sorgi, and he brought us together to join with the seminarians in presenting sacred music at this season for Advent and Christmas.
Well, my favorite part of an evening like this is to see different people coming from all over New York itself. There's people coming from Rockville Center, Brooklyn, and the Archdiocese of New York, just really gathering to pray together and to listen to the readings.
My favorite part of the evening like this is just welcoming everyone to come here to the seminary and seeing how excited they are to see us, the seminarians, and to listen to all the beautiful music.
And just to sing, just to offer that as a sacrifice of praise to God, to sing with my brother seminarians, to sing and to help everybody who came from the local community just start off this season right.
I love to sing, and I love to sing with the group.
My favorite part was seeing it all come together. You know, sometimes at rehearsals, you wonder if it's actually going to happen, but in the end, it comes off really well. I'm really proud of the students. I'm really proud of the Archdiocesan Choir, and to see it come together really well is the best part for me.
And that's all for tonight. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.